pleasure. The moment I saw that documentary, I was like, wow. Let me just be honest off the bat. I loved your first documentary, but when someone says there's a documentary about a crashed UFO and it happened in Brazil, I'm always like, man, people tell stories. You know, I'm like, maybe it was one of those. Like, I didn't think too much of it. When I hear stories, even Roswell, I always go, man, I don't know. It's so hard to know. 1947, you know, I think some shenanigans were going on, but what was it really? And how much of this is just people tell stories, and those stories grow and change over the years, and you know, almost like the story becomes their real memory after a while because they've been doing it for, you know, so many years. But then this one, just right away, the way you captured all the information and the evidence and the eyewitness accounts, the photographs that people got, the depictions of the actual being, the fact that there was live beings. This is and everyone that didn't even know each other having these like really similar stories about what they saw. And when people got a hold of the wreckage, like when you first started making this documentary, did you have any apprehension like, oh, this one, how do I sell a documentary on a crashed UFO? Like, what's the best way to put this together? Because that's part of the art of what you do, right?
You were skeptical. Let me tell you how skeptical I was. Okay? So I was making my second documentary on UFOs in the late 90s. I just finished a documentary called UFOs, 50 Years of Denial. I started on my second film. It was 1999, and I partnered up with a couple of guys. Boris Zuboff has been a partner. I'm still working with him today. And this guy, Tim Coleman, who's a British reporter. And we like mapping out the film concept, like, hey, we should cover this case, and we should do that. And he's like, hey, mate, we got to do this amazing UFO crash in Brazil with these aliens. We're walking around the town. And I looked at the guy, and I thought, I think I picked the wrong partner. This guy's fucking batshit crazy. And literally, I dismissed it on the spot, and I refused to even read one word about it. I said, there's no way in hell that happened, and the whole world doesn't know about it.
Right.
So I have to remind your audience, I was making my second documentary.
On UFOs.
And I dismissed it. Like this. Like, how fast can you say howdy doody?
It just always seems like if someone's telling you about something like that, like you would have heard about it.
Absolutely. I can't tell you, Joe, how quickly I dismissed it. And I didn't look into it till 2011. Okay, so here's what happened. I get invited by this guy, A.J. Javard, to a place called Peruíbe in Brazil. And I'm speaking at a conference about a film I did called I Know What I Saw. And this guy calls me, Jeff Sagansky, who's very high up on the food chain in the entertainment industry. He's been kind of like my mentor and opening doors for me over the years. And I've asked him over a period of time, like, why are you so kind to me? He's a very wealthy guy in New York. And he goes, you know, Jackie Gleason told me one time that these things were real. Don't listen to anybody else. I know for a fact. And so when I saw you as an independent, struggling young filmmaker, I always wanted to lend a helping hand. And by the way, you're going to Brazil, you got to look into that Fargenia case. And I thought, oh, God, not this again, right? Swear to God. So I was like, well, I had a lot of respect for Jeff Sagansky. I mean, you can look him up. The guy's very famous. I mean, he's big time. And I said, oh, yeah, sure, Jeff, I'll look into that for you while I'm in Brazil. And just to be nice, right? But in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not wasting 1 second on that stupid case. Like, seriously, I'm telling you, honest to God truth. And it was 2011. So I go to Brazil with no intention of looking into it. Zero. Okay? I wasn't even going to ask one question. And it just so happens that nuclear physicist and UFO researcher Stanton Friedman, rest in peace, and he is there at the conference. And somehow the case gets brought up. It wasn't about that case, but it gets brought up. And he's like, oh, yeah, I was in Brazil when that went down. And he's one of the smarter guys. Stanton Friedman,
yeah, he
is not an idiot. I mean, he's one of the reasons why him and Don Schmidt and Kevin Randall are one of the reasons why we're even talking about Roswell. And he's like, oh, yeah, I was here when that happened. I met some of the witnesses. So then that kind of piqued my interest. I was like, huh. Okay, well, God, Stanton, I can't completely dismiss coming from Stanton. Then I met a couple of people at the conference. So I thought, oh, okay, well, I piqued my interest. I got to be honest with you. And that's how it all started. And that was like in 2011. And I was going to include a segment of it in the phenomenon.
The interview with Stanton, did you get that?
I got that in 2013 in Brazil.
Because he died when?
He died like a couple years ago. He died in the airport. You know, he told me, he's like, James, I'm retiring. I can't do this anymore. I live in Canada in this remote spot. There are no direct flights, and I'm always running in the airports trying to get my connecting flight, and I can't do it anymore. And then he retired for like a year or so, and then he had to get back at it, and he died in the airport running for a connecting flight.
Oh, he had a heart attack?
He had a heart
running
attack.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
It's exactly what he predicted.
God damn it.
I know, right? And I just like...
He was a fascinating guy because he was an outspoken critic of Lazar, and I always wanted to get the two of them together. I was like, I wanted to see, because one of the things that the critics of Lazar always bring up is his education at MIT. I can explain that to you off air in the way that he explained it to me, and it might make sense. But I think that it's hard to dismiss that he worked at that lab. Los Alamos Labs had him on their list of people that worked there. Like, he was on the whatever that thing is that they have with all the list of employees. He was in it. Like, he worked there. He knew all the people that worked there. He knew how it was set up. When they took him there, he knew the security guys. He knew the machines that they used they had some sort of a scanner that measured the length of your digits exactly. So you put your hand on this thing, and he talked about it, and everybody's like, what? That doesn't even exist. And then years later, people got photographs of this thing.
George Knapp said he went through that Los Alamos laboratory, like, just right through.